Okay. Introduction to the relation analysis or to the measures of association. Uh, there are different terms in this field: association or relation or relationship. Usually, um, they mean the same. And I will start this introduction with two very important constraints. First, when we analyze on relation, we will denote one variable as a dependent variable or result, and we will denote other variable as independent variable or factor. But uh, statistical methods can't tell us which variable is independent and which is dependent. We must know this before statistical analysis. And usually we use some kind of qualitative analysis to define independent and dependent variables. In some cases, this qualitative uh, analysis is very easy. For example, if we want to study the relation between age and motivation, please tell me which variable is independent and which is dependent.
Age is, I mean, the motivation is the dependent variable, and age.
Okay.
We'll measure the motivation over
Yeah.
age, not vice versa.
Okay. Okay. So I'm agree. The motivation is the dependent variable, and the age is independent. Why? Because the opposite is not possible. It is not possible uh, to uh, to study how motivation uh, to say could change the age. We know that motivation couldn't change the age. Age is independent. So, okay, this qualitative analysis is very easy, but I will ask you, if we study the relation between motivation and satisfaction, which variable is independent and which is dependent?
Can be vice versa. I mean, I have
Yeah,
done the
yeah,
study in
yeah.
organizational psychology with satisfaction dependent variable and motivation independent, but it can be also the opposite. I mean, the satisfied employees can be more motivated, so it can work both. But I think that
Mm.
at least from my studies, more it's the influence of motivation over satisfaction than the opposite.
Okay, so in this case, this qualitative analysis is not so easy. It can be very difficult, and it is possible to have no answer. So it is possible that in the end of this qualitative analysis, we still don't know which variable is dependent and which is independent. So this is the first. Statistical methods can't tell us which variable is independent and which is dependent. We must know this before the statistical analysis by performing some kind of qualitative analysis. The second constraint is that usually is in our everyday life, when we speak about relation, we usually speak for this relation as causal relation. But again, statistical methods can't tell us whether a relation is causal or not. This is second important constraint. And you know, maybe from other courses, maybe you already had course about experimental design or something similar, that if we want to be sure whether a relation is causal or not, then we must perform experimental research, classical experiment. But statistical methods can't tell us whether this relation is causal or not. And after these two constraints, I will continue with three main tasks of analysis of relation. First, the first task is to obtain, to review whether there is relation. This is the task of presence. Sorry. Sorry again. Or lack of relation. If our answer is positive, if there is a relation, then we can continue with other two tasks. But if here our answer is negative, if there is not a relation, then our analysis stops here. Other two other tasks become irrelevant. So the second task is the question about the direction of this relationship. Direction means what happens with the result, what happens with the dependent variable when independent variable increases. So there are three possible situations. If here 1, 2, 3. Here is independent variable factor. Here is dependent variable result. Factor, result, factor, result. The first possible situation is when an independent variable increases, then dependent variable also increases. This is the direction of this relation. The second possible situation is when independent variable increases, then dependent variable decreases. This is the second direction of this relation. And the third possible situation is when independent variables increases, then dependent variables moves up and down. So after the first task, after the answer of the question about presence of relation, if there is relation, then we have to study, we have to analyze the direction of this relation. And the third task is the task about the strength of Okay. About the strength of this relation. What does that mean? Again, I will use whiteboard. These pictures here are very abstract, are very perfect. Usually, when we study relation between variables, we have no lines. Usually, we have dots, different dots, and each person is represented by dots. After that, we make models, and these lines, these abstract lines, these perfect lines, are in fact not the real relation. These lines are our models, and strength of the relation means the difference between a real observation, real cases, real person, and this perfect line. When these points are on the line and close to the line, then the relation is strong. But when these points are far from the line, then the relation is weak. And again, I will ask why. Why we need to measure a strength of the relation? Because usually we study this relation not for themselves, but we study them to solve, to make some decision in the management, to say in company or in public organization. For example, let's say that you work in some organization, maybe private, maybe public, and you measured that in this organization motivation is very low, and your aim is to, your goal is to increase this motivation. And you could increase this motivation if you know factors, if you know which variable increase motivation. And for example, you already made such research, and you already have obtained that gender is independent variable to the motivation. And let's say this point is average motivation of males. This point is average motivation of females. Here, the same. This point is average motivation of males. This point is average motivation of females. Now, you want to use this relation between gender and motivation, and you want to increase motivation. Okay, strong relationship means that motivation of males varies in very short interval, and the same for the females. The motivation of females varies in very short interval, and then difference between groups, difference between males and females is larger than difference within group, larger than differences in the group of males and differences in the group of females. So here in this situation, if you want to increase motivation, it's enough to increase motivation of males. If you increase motivation of males, then the motivation of average motivation of all employers for all employees will be increased. So weak relation. Weak relation means that there is big differences within group. Big differences in the group of males and big differences in the group of females. Then the same difference between average motivation here on the right and on the left, the difference between average motivation is the same. But here on the right, this difference is smaller than differences within group. Difference between group is smaller than differences within group. And then if you want to increase motivation, here it is not enough to increase motivation only of males. You have to increase motivation both of part of males and part of females. And why the left situation is better? because if you want to increase dependent variables in one particular group, that means that your treatment here, your policy or your measures will be focused. You have focus only on this group first, and second, your treatment will be cheaper because you must treat only one group. Here, in the right situation, you will lose focus because you must treat males, but you must treat females also. So your treatment will not have focus first, and second, your treatment will be more expensive because you must treat both groups, both males and females. So when you will use the result from your study to make decision to when you will use this result in management and HR or different kind of management. You the best choice is to use strong relation. And if you want to use strong relation for the management purposes, before that, you must measure the strength of the relation. So this is the third task. And tomorrow we will test the hypothesis about presence or lack of relation. And after that, if the answer is positive, we will study the direction of this relation, and we will measure the strength of this direction, this relation. And the last for today, methods for the analysis of relation depends on scales, depends on these three simple scales which we use for measurement. And I will make here a table. Maybe this way. Here will be dependent. Variable. And here will be independent. Okay. So dependent variable could be nominal, ordinal, or interval. When we speak about methods of relation analysis, there is no difference between nominal and ordinal, and I put them here in one group. But there is a serious difference between these two scales, nominal and ordinal, on one hand, and interval scale on other hand. So these are two groups, nominal and ordinal, and interval. Okay, I here or, because the dependent variable is nominal or ordinal. It's impossible to be both in the same time. So, independent variable, again, nominal or ordinal, and interval. So, when we combine dependent variable, these two possibilities for dependent variable, and these two possibilities for independent variable, we have four new possibilities. In each of these cells of the table, there is different method for relation analysis, and we will start tomorrow with methods. But this is the situation. This is very simple situation when we analyze one dependent variable and only one independent variable. Usually, in real life, independent variables are more. So we could, of course, analyze only one independent, but more realistic analysis is when independent variables are more. But when independent variables are more, then there is third possibility here, and this possibility is mix of different scales. One independent variable could be nominal, other could be ordinal, third could be interval, and so on and so on. So we could have mix of nominal, ordinal, and interval independent variables. This analysis is harder comparing to other two, but this analysis is more realistic because in real life, usually one dependent variable there could be different independent variables, not only nominal or only ordinal or only interval. Usually different variables are measured with different scales, and this is a realistic situation in real life analysis. So this is the program for tomorrow. The basic methods are in these three cells. Okay, I will. Okay. This is our program minimum for tomorrow. If we have time, we could continue with other three possible combinations, but the program minimum for tomorrow is this: nominal ordinal, independent and interval dependent, and two or more interval variables. So that's all for today. This was this introductory part of relation analysis. I will save this whiteboard and we'll use tomorrow, because as I said, here in each cell of this table, we have to put different methods for analysis of relation. So, question?
No, thank you.
Okay, I will stop recording. Okay.